Blackstone Audio and Buck 50 Productions present No Shade by Kwan. This book is read by Kim Johnson. Prologue. It was a slow day in the hood. It had rained off and on throughout the night, leaving the air humid and the benches wet, so people were deterred from hanging out that early in the day. For the first time in a long time, everything was in slow motion, and that suited Miss Pat just fine. Miss Pat was an older woman of undetermined age and quick wit, who everyone either loved or despised. But she didn't care either way. She was who she was and made no excuses for it. Dressed in a faded housecoat and tattered fuzzy slippers with hard cardboard soles, she shuffled into the living room of her project apartment. There were empty beer bottles, overflowing ashtrays on the coffee table, and someone had left a greasy bag on one of her orange, plastic-covered sofas. When she saw the mess it was in, all she could do was shake her head, as she knew it was the work of her son, Mookie, and his crime partner, Fish. Mookie was almost 40 years old, but still lived at home and expected his mother to clean up behind him as if he was a child. Of all her children, he had always been the most dependent on her, and the most troublesome. Miss Pat stood there with her hands on her wide hips, trying to figure out where to start when the front door swung open. Moving with reflexes born of decades in the streets, she immediately dropped to one knee and dipped her hand in the front pocket of her housecoat. By the time the first figure bent the corner into the living room, she already had her .38 cocked and ready to bang on the intruder. Her finger had just brushed the trigger when she realized the intruder was her great-granddaughter, Jalen. Without giving her gun-wielding elder a second look, Jalen tossed her knapsack on the floor and picked the television remote up off the coffee table. "Girl, what in the TD Jakes is wrong with you, coming in here unannounced like that?" Miss Pat barked. She hurriedly put the .38 back in her housecoat and adjusted her wig that had slid to the side when she dropped to one knee. Jalen turned her eyes from the television long enough to roll them at Miss Pat, then capped, "It ain't my fault. Blame her." Miss Pat shuffled over to Jalen and snatched the remote control. "Little girl, who in the hell is her? And ain't you got manners enough to know to speak to your elders when you walk into a room?" "Hi."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?